In the winter of 2014, over 100,000 people came from all over the world to see the ice caves of the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore. Thousands more came in the summer to experience these island jewels of Lake Superior. The era was the 1960s in Wisconsin. New ideas and hopes were popping up all over the United States. That's when a group from northern Wisconsin felt the Apostle Islands should be preserved for their beauty and they needed help from a strong political figure. A spokesman for their group, Martin Hansen, brought the idea to Senator Gaylord Nelson. That idea was thought of before in the 1930s but couldn't happen because many trees were logged down and they believed the nature was destroyed forever. Senator Gaylord Nelson loved the idea. He decided the idea would go forward. Gaylord Nelson was born in Clear Lake, Wisconsin and had a love for its beauty at an early age. Hard work and labor convinced Gaylord Nelson to go to college in California. After finishing his degree, he went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison to study law. He found interest in politics rather than law, then returned to Madison, Wisconsin, where he began to rebrand the Democratic Party. After seeking supporters in all quarters of the state, 5 years later, he became the second Democratic governor of the 20th century in Wisconsin and became the first governor from northern Wisconsin. After his term as governor, he became a United States Senator in 1962. This is where he started his journey to establishing the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore.
Really, I'll tell you what, the most important figure in all of this, in the post-1960 era to push the national park was, in fact, Gaylord Nelson.
The idea was to have 11 beautiful miles of mainland and, of course, the 21 Apostle Islands. Soon, the idea spread and local people were excited by the idea. In the fall of 1963, Senator Gaylord Nelson asked President John F. Kennedy if he would do a conservation tour of the western part of the country to encourage the local people of northern Wisconsin and many other cities across the country about conserving resources. Senator Gaylord Nelson also wanted to show President John F. Kennedy the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore to see if the president approved of the idea. When the president finally arrived in Ashland, Wisconsin, thousands of locals came to meet him and hear his speech.
Lake Superior, the Apostle Islands, the Bad River area are all unique. They are worth improving for the benefit of sportsmen and tourists. In an area of congestion and pollution, man-made noise and dirt, Lake Superior has a beauty that millions can enjoy. These islands are part of our American heritage. In a very real sense, they tell the story of the development of this country.
After the president came, things started heading in the right direction. Then many controversies appeared. Government was taking land from the local Red Cliff and Bad River Ojibwe Reservation for the National Lakeshore. Then they added around this much land to the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore. Many Native Americans, not very happy, began to revolt. Dear Gaylord Nelson, there was a meeting about the arrest of a few Native Americans for wild ricing on tribal lands before the date was set. The Native Americans deliberately got themselves arrested in order to have a court case as to exactly what their rights are. Best regards, Martin Hansen.
When the first plans for a new national lakeshore came out in the 1960s, the original boundaries were drawn so as to encompass a fairly large part of the Bad River Reservation, the area called the Kakagan Sloughs, all those beautiful wild rice beds and everything. And I think the planners just looked and said, oh my heavens, that's beautiful, wonderful natural territory, great bird habitat. We've got this wonderful wild rice resource here. Let's preserve it by making it a national park. And at that point, the members of the Bad River tribe said, hey, wait a second, that's our reservation, that's our homeland. We're taking care of it very well, thank you, and we certainly don't need the government coming in and telling us how to do it. So there was some bad feeling between the tribes and the national park proponents at first.
Senator Gaylord Nelson decided to drop the plan to include the Bad River Reservation. The National Lakeshore idea started to become on hold for 2 years in 1965 and 1966. The idea was being discussed, but nothing was moving forward because they were probably listening to Sonny and Cher. In the summer of 1967, they decided to have another proposal. More protests started to break out against having land in a local reservation called Red Cliff. After Senator Gaylord Nelson fixed that problem, he tried for approval yet again. After initial rejection, Senator Gaylord Nelson decided the National Lakeshore should only be Apostle Islands land and little to no lakeshore. People were not excited by this idea, so the project was left hanging. No one truly knew if the whole project was even going to work out. In March of 1969, they soon agreed on the idea. Finally, in 1970, the statement was signed by the President on September 26th. It included 20 islands and a 12-mile strip of the mainland. After establishing the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore, Senator Gaylord Nelson was a leader in many other important projects. April 22, 1970, Senator Gaylord Nelson made Earth Day become a reality.
As the 92nd Congress, a Congress that will build bridges between our citizens and between men and nature's systems, instead of building more highways and dams and new weapon systems that escalate the arms race.
Since then, millions of people from all over the world celebrate Earth Day each year. When Senator Gaylord Nelson founded Earth Day, it led to the creation of the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Endangered Species Act shortly thereafter. These ideas saved many lives and are still being used to this day. Since 1970, the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore has been a great place for the nation. Thousands and thousands of people have come to experience the beauty. For 45 years, these 21 islands have been free of destruction and the nature has been preserved. Without Senator Gaylord Nelson's efforts, the islands may not have been available for everyone, and the beauty may not have been there to this day.